Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a magnificent reworking of HOTFIX. HOTFIX is going to the next level, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get into... You were going to talk, Mr. Kirioff. Did I say
it's going MLG, bloke. It's going MLG.
This is me with my scope, and then that's me without
360 no scope.
All right, so...
I'd do one in my chair, but it would mean taking my headset off.
Oh, yeah, you've got the same chair as me now. Well, no, you've actually got a better chair. Yours is better than mine. Yeah, look, you can see he's got like a leather. Mine's just like a bit of...
Well, I don't know if it's better. It's just 20 quid more expensive. It's probably exactly the same, in fairness.
Well, there you go. It has been a good chair, but whatever. We don't care about that. Ladies and gentlemen, you can see HOTFIX has changed by... Well, it looks different because why have we got a show topic thing? I'm going to give you a quick rundown of what HOTFIX is going to become now before we get into it. So, it's going to come out at 6 p.m. on Thursdays. Yes, that's correct. 6 p.m. on Thursdays, and it's going to cover like the main topics of the last week. All right. So what we're looking for is it'll probably be a little bit longer than a normal HOTFIX, like well, an old HOTFIX, because that was just one topic, whereas this is like multiple topics. Although some topics are not going to take loads of it. Some of them may be like little bits of news and stuff, but we kind of want to take HOTFIX to the next level. I'm going to provide a SoundCloud version, so just an audio version. So if you want to listen to it on your way to work or whatever, then you can. Or even if you've got an MP3 player from 1999. A creative MP3 player. 18 meg or something.
Or an iRiver.
18?
Do you remember the iRiver? I remember the iRiver.
18 meg isn't even a size what we're talking about.
No.
iRiver. No, shit, I remember that. Like it was like a hard drive.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Yeah.
So iRiver, in your iRivers, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. So it's going to be regular, so people know when HOTFIX is going to happen. Maybe in a couple of weeks we might actually stream HOTFIX because we're kind of streaming it now, but we're just streaming it to ourselves. If that makes any sense, we're sort of just using OBS to record it. But whatever, that's for the future. So, Mr. Kirioff, this is the show today. Well, Paranautical Activity Madness. That'll be the first port of call for the good ship HOTFIX. HMS HOTFIX. Yeah. So, Human Resource Kickstarter dead. Now, this is also quite interesting as well. We've got Far Cry 4 Day 1 DLC for Season Pass holders only, and the PvP. So the multiplayer is behind this as well. And Blizzcon, could there be a game announcement coming up? So yeah, ladies and gentlemen, and we're not going to sit like this either. No. The scene will change. The scene will do this. Get ready. Hold on to your seat, Mr. Kirioff. Oh, Lord. There we go. Now, this is what HOTFIX is going to be like now, so you can see what we're looking at. I'll also provide links in the description to what we're talking about, and I may even provide, if I'm feeling jazzy, timestamp links to when we actually speak about the topics. But I'm not promising anything.
But only if he's feeling particularly jazzy.
Yeah, okay, so let's get into
really
it.
Jazzy.
Like super jazz, man. Jazz. Okay, so the first thing we've got is the Paranautical Activity thing. Now... Paranautical Activity it's like an FPS roguelike game. I actually made a video on this about a year ago, okay, and it had potential. I'm going to be honest, it had potential. Apparently, it's kind of in the same state it was back then, even though it did launch on Steam and then they had some problems, which Mr. Kirioff will tell us about in a second. But I played the game and I didn't think it was too bad. I thought, honestly, it was like, it was a good foundation. It was kind of like an FPS Binding of Isaac. That was kind of the way to look at it.
Yeah.
It was pretty good. I didn't think it wasn't... No, that's not right. It was a decent idea. Yeah, it had potential.
It had potential. It had a lot of potential. But that's the key. That's the key word, though. It had a lot of potential. I don't think it's got that much potential anymore.
No.
Basically, what happened was there's a chap called Mike Malbec who is one of the founders of a company called Code Avarice who made Paranautical Activity. Now, they had some issues with Steam before, Paranautical Activity. They're in the green light process, but then they got picked up by a publisher. And Valve said, well, you're so far down into the process, we don't want to just kick you out of green light and give you a thing, because then that makes it look like green light is just a way for people to get a publisher so that they can then skip the green light system. Yeah. I don't think Valve handled it particularly well, but on the other hand, it's their terrible green light system, so in a way, they get to decide what happens with it. So there was that. There's that little bit of history. So what happened was, Paranautical Activity has been in early access for God knows how long, and they released the game. They released it proper. Only they released it at a time where Steam doesn't release games. Steam releases games 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. I think it's Pacific Standard Time, and they don't do it over weekends, and they don't do it outside of those hours. I'd imagine largely because people who work at Valve still actually would like to go home sometime, and they're not going to be working weekends. I mean, you know, it's your standard 9 to 5 office hours, ain't it, that? So when he set the game to live, by the look of it, he set it to live at a time where there was no one there to actually change the store page and say, it's not in early access, it is now fully released. He apparently contacted Steam, or attempted to contact Steam. They didn't do what he wanted to quick enough. And so he tweeted various things about how the staff at Steam are fucking incompetent, and how Steam's got a shit monopoly.
Well, allow me to do some quotes, because I've got control of the fancy show people what we're talking about. So this is Polygon, as you can see, guys, because they've kind of condensed it down. I believe these tweets have since been deleted, so good luck finding them, but everybody's pasted them all over the place. You know, we've got things like this. This being a project I spent years of my life on, I was very frustrated by this mistake Valve made. So I tweeted this is like a quote off the guy after the fact. So I tweeted a series of tweets calling them incompetent that eventually ended in me saying, "I swear I'm going to fucking kill Gabe," or something. Like, it's childish.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other examples of this. I'm not going to bother pulling them up because they're kind of stupid. Instead, okay, right, I'm not going to defend this guy because what he did is absolutely fucking stupid. But I can sort of understand what happened here, right? Because I kind of get this happening to me, and sometimes I've gone off on once, but obviously never like this. This is crazy. When you put a lot of effort into something and you make it, right, and you put it out there into the public domain, and you're like, okay, I've made this, what do you think? And people hate on you for making that. It's like, what the hell? You know, you can get a little bit frustrated at that. Now, his example is obviously a bit different because his game was like launched and he felt like he was being robbed, and, you know, he sort of wanted like, I don't know. I think he felt like him and his team, or whoever it was, I think it was only a small team, wasn't it? Spent a long time making this game,
yeah, 4
and
or 5
suddenly
people.
They've kind of been shafted by Big Bad Valve. What the hell was that? Sounded like a BB.
I was moving my armrest.
What the
I
hell?
kept knocking the desk.
Anyway, I'm going to read this, guys. So this is the whole quote you can see on the screen, right? I'm going to read through it.
Well, hang on. Let's just wait a sec. This is actually from the original thing that happened, where he went off on one, was a couple of days ago. This is something that he said. I think it was yesterday.
Well, yeah, he's now stepped down.
This is him stepping down from Paranautical, from the Paranautical Activity dev team, and he sold his half of the company Code Avarice to his partner, who started the company with him. So this is a statement that he's made following his outburst and the game getting removed off Steam because he threatened Gabe Newell and launched a massive tirade.
Yeah. So I just put it into chronological order for you, ladies and gentlemen. His game did not release as he wanted it to release. He then tried to contact Steam. He couldn't. So then he went on a massive Twitter attack saying he's going to murder Gabe, and then his game was just thrown off the store, right? And then he was fuming and raging for a bit. A lot of news sites were reporting on this. And then yesterday, he came out with this statement. So now bear with me, guys, because this is a bit of a dickhead statement at points as well. If you feel like interjecting, Mr. Kirioff, just do it, okay? So I'm going to read all of this, guys, okay? So I'll highlight it. Yesterday, Paranautical Activity released out of Steam Early Access, and following some confusion about the state of the game, I became frustrated with Steam and tweeted a series of angry tweets that ended in me sarcastically saying I was going to kill Gabe Newell. A statement I obviously didn't mean, but was regardless completely unacceptable. As a result of my actions, Paranautical Activity, a game made by 4 or 5 people, and then he said, depending on who you count as team members, which sounds really dodgy, was removed from Steam. I feel it is my responsibility to step down completely, so that Steam has no reason to harbour any more ill will towards the company, which will be interesting actually, because maybe Steam will decide to bring it back, but I think the damage has already been done.
Well, the problem with that is that his partner has supported him all the way through and said, this is stupid, Steam shouldn't have taken the game down, he didn't do anything wrong, effectively. Like, he was stupid, but, it was just tweets. So his partner, who he's, trying to help with this, has already essentially stuck up for the guy, which kind of defeats the purpose of trying to fix the image, because the image is still tarnished. Because he's sitting there going, yeah, he did something stupid, but this whole thing is totally unfair.
And how do we know he's even left? Anyway. How do we know he's even left as well? Like, this is just like, I'm no longer part of Unit Lost yet. I just go into the background and steal the money. I mean, what? Anyway, it says, and maybe even if we can't see Paranautical activity restored, at least their future games might be on the platform, which again, like you just said, is probably going to be a no because they've probably blacklisted them anyway. And then he says, I'm really deeply sorry that my short-sighted, hot-tempered actions resulted in not only my own dreams and aspirations being destroyed, but those of the entire team I worked with. I'm sorry that my statements made Valve and or Gabe uncomfortable and upset. Okay. My temper and tendency to use Twitter to vent has been a constant problem since I entered the games industry. So why are you using Twitter? And I just can't do it. I don't have the willpower necessary to be the face of a company. Now, this is what really, it just sounds stupid and childish. This, you would not employ this guy. Okay, this next line.
Yeah, this is...
If I do continue to work in games, it'll be as an anonymous 1 of 1,000 at some shitty corporation, not the most public figure of a single-digit-sized team.
Honestly, like, I started out, when I first heard about this, I thought, well, the guy's been a bit of a wanker. He must know he's been a bit of a wanker. And so I can kind of, if you're frustrated, sometimes it's easy to go on Twitter and it's easy to vent. But even the apology is hating on the people who he depends on for his livelihood. I'm sorry, but he even says, my temper and tendency to use Twitter to vent, and then in the same paragraph, essentially labels any prospective employer as a shitty corporation. Is he trying to commit professional suicide? What is wrong with this guy?
He already has.
It's like his lack of control and his inability to read what he's written and then go back and look at it with even the smallest semblance of common sense has caused him to wreck his livelihood and the livelihood of his friends who helped him make the game. And in the fucking apology, he makes it worse.
You know what he sounds like?
I don't understand how he can be that. He's just got no self-awareness whatsoever. No. It's just incredible.
It's very childish, if you ask me. It sounds like the sort of thing you would read on Reddit. Some sort of throwaway account response. It's just you would not employ somebody like that. So I suppose the question is, do you think that this was do you think this was done as some sort of an attempt to get their game out there? Maybe they wasn't happy with the performance of. Because let's be honest, I didn't know the game was coming out of early access or anything. I didn't know nothing.
No.
I played it ages ago.
Apparently Steam, but
yeah, it was not on my radar. But suddenly now it's been propagated over all of these news websites. But you know what they say? Any kind of press is good press. I don't think it is in this example, because if you've gone around now and basically, there was also another interesting quote which I don't think I've got, but off the top of my head, they did say they sold something like 12 games, 12 copies of the game over Disura, Humble Bundle, and a couple of other places, but they were selling more than that a minute on Steam when it launched. So that begs the question: why did they even get pissed anyway? What was there to get pissed about if they were selling that many? I mean, which seems like quite a lot to me for a game like that.
Essentially, all he said was that the game came out of early access and it was released, but the time of the release was supposed to coincide with when they were featured on the front page of Steam. Which, okay, that sounds sensible, but
Do you think he did this?
Time
do you think
to
it was a
find
marketing
out
stunt?
When
Do you think it was a marketing stunt?
No, honestly, I don't think it was a marketing stunt. I think he's just an idiot.
Just an idiot. Yeah.
I honestly think that because he had plenty of time to find out when Steam does releases of games. He had plenty of time to find out that it's 9 till 5.
It's Phil Fish syndrome, isn't it?
He had plenty of time to find out that if he's going to put it out on a Sunday, I mean, who releases a game on a Sunday anyway? What the hell is that about? He had plenty of time to find out that this was not going to work. Instead, he just went, the game's released, and everyone went, what? I mean, he's seriously telling me that... I think, honestly, he did something, it was stupid, and instead of going, shit, this went wrong, let's try and fix it, he decided to blame everybody but himself.
Yeah.
I think that's what happened there. I think that's what happened.
I go back to the example I give, and it kind of really doesn't fit, because it is kind of different. It's not like, if what I was trying to say was, I can kind of understand if something you've worked on gets attacked, or you feel somebody is blocking you from, kind of going forward. It can be frustrating. It can be like, like I guess a better example I've got is like when we contact companies for games. So quite recently, Civilization Beyond Earth, we want that off 2K. You think they'd give it us, considering the coverage we've given them in the past. Yet they don't. They're given to other people, and it makes me go like, it's fucking bullshit. This is, and I kind of get a bit ranty about it. Obviously, not to the level of this guy, because that's ludicrous. That would be similar to me just going around and throwing abuse at every YouTuber I met at the network. At everything, just being totally idiotic and suicidal. And the thing is, like you said, complete disregard for the other people in the team. That's just like you don't want to work with a person like that.
No. He's kind of shafted himself for any jobs he'd get in games development after this anyway, because as like a quick Google of his name will bring up an article where he declares the prospective place he's going to work as a shitty corporation.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, I mean, it's very easy to sit here and hate on him, but actually at this point, there's not really any point because he's completely wrecked himself. He doesn't need people to hate on him because, frankly, he's done a fantastic job of ruining his career at this point. If anything, what you should really just take away from this entire thing is just a very simple life lesson, which is don't press tweet, don't press enter, don't hit send until you've read it back and made sure that that's something that you would want other people to see. That's as simple as it gets, right? That's all you have to do. It's not difficult. All it takes is just the tiniest amount of self-awareness to prevent you from wrecking your dreams. So do it. Don't do what this guy did, because this guy is like a study in how not to behave in public.
But like the game was okay. This is what I don't understand. It's like the game they had. I don't know what its launch state was, but when I played it, you could see what was there. You could see it was a decent foundation, and it just seems like it's just sad. And every case, it's a game that could have been okay. It has been shafted, and a guy who maybe a decent programmer or whatever, he just lost his head and turned into Phil Fish, or like a very watered down version of Phil Fish.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go on to the next topic. So the next thing we've got is. Now, this is the Kickstarter campaign. Oh, God. Again, we're on Polygon. So this is Uber Entertainment cancels the Human Resources Kickstarter campaign. Now, I'm going to load this Kickstarter campaign up because I think it's over here. Because the reason for cancelling it is they would never meet the goal. So we're looking at their Kickstarter page now. This is them talking about the end, okay? I'm not going to read that, but I mean, if you guys want to check that out, like I said, there'll be links in the description to this stuff, so you can. So yeah, it looks like they've got like 9,300 backers and they've got $384,000 of 1.4 million. So there's no way it was going to make it. They know that, so they cancelled it. Now, let's talk about Uber Entertainment because they are an interesting company. So everybody remembers Planetary Annihilation, okay? Everybody remembers that. The trailer was looked amazing. The game, to be fair, it's exactly like the trailer, so they did a good job. With that, everything that's in the trailer, apart from like some of the units, but I think they're being added, you've got access to. But Planetary Annihilation has piss poor review scores, right? And I'll tell you why it has piss poor review scores. Even though it is like, it was hailed as the. Well, okay, listen, I think they landed at a very good time with Planetary Annihilation, yeah? It was in the middle of the Kickstarter buzz. Everybody's going crazy for Kickstarter. That's kind of died off a bit now. But everybody's like, Kickstarter. It's Supreme Commander 3. Let's not... Well, it's Supreme Commander Forged Alliance natural success, because Supreme Commander 2 was shit. Anyway, it was just the success to that, right? So we're looking at this and we're like, holy shit. I backed this on Kickstarter. Loads of people did, right? It went straight past its goal, dead quick. It was a really polished thing. They had the preview footage of the game, the conceptual trailer, which showed you what it was going to like. Like I said, the game has turned out to be pretty much exactly like that, and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So why did it get poor reviews? Well, I think there's been a couple of things that have been against it. Okay, so it's been. You've been able to get access to the game for a very long time, yeah, through the alpha, which was like horrendously, like hideously priced.
Yeah,
that was it was because the fact that the Kickstarter milestones, the pledge tiers on Kickstarter, some of them, like I think it was like the 80 quid and above ones or whatever it was, they had early access to the game, so you couldn't sell it cheaper because those people would be like, "What the fuck? We've backed you." That's why. But anyway, as it went on, the game was in development for ages, and it didn't really change that much. They did a lot of I think they had problems with the engine, so it wasn't really that polished. They were doing a lot of work with that. They've slowly started adding units into it. They got to the point where it's like, you know what, we've really got to release the game now, and they released the game. So people expect
that was like a year late as well.
Oh yeah, it's only recently released.
Really delayed.
It was delayed so much that they were like, we have to release. We've got to get this out there now. So then it gets put in front of people to review. Now, you either get people like me who we don't review stuff, we give you our opinions on it, and I'm like, I can see this game is, again, like Paranautical Activity, it has a lot of potential. More than Paranautical Activity, there's a lot of potential there for this game. And that's great. But that's not me taking into account that this is now the launch version of the game. For a reviewer, they look at what they've been given, and they're like, there are hardly any units, there's one faction, the AI is terrible, it can get laggy when the games get big, yada, yada, yada. The balance is terrible, because even like simple things like the way the game works, so you've got the globe, right? If you're on a planet, you can move, like, let's say my fist's a planet. If you've got a base here, you can attack that base. You can be attacked from, like, there, from there, from there. It's like there's no sort of, like, you can't really defend yourself that easily.
Yeah.
So it always forces you into one type of play, and that's, like, go out on the attack, like, regardless of your base. And it's just, the multiplayer can be a little, well, it is quite terrible. But that's the problem. It launched, it didn't have enough stuff, so it got slated. And that's negative press, Mr. Kirioff, for them as a company.
The thing is, though, that is negative press, but there's also the fact that they've got, like, a cumulative negative impact from other games they've made. Like, I read up a bit on Uber before we did this. They did Monday Night Combat and Super Monday Night Combat. Now, both of those games were very popular, very well received, but within a year of them being released, both of them lost all support completely, and they just don't get updated. They get ignored almost entirely by Uber, and people who played those games said, "Well, the one thing I was worried about with Planetary Annihilation was that it would eventually get ignored." And what's happened here? Planetary Annihilation is not finished. It was not in a finished state when it released. Half of it needs serious work, and yet they're trying to fund yet another game, having not even finished the first game that was delayed by nearly a year for release, which still only has got one faction, it still lags, it's still got terrible AI, all these issues you just listed. It's like, I'm sorry, but a company with a habit of starting a game and then abandoning it to try and start a different game, why would you fund that? Like, if you've bought Planetary Annihilation, why would you then go and say, oh, cool, these guys are making another game, but they haven't finished the game I've already paid for. I'll fund the new one. You're just not going to do it, are you?
No, I mean, my first reaction was, what? I think I even tweeted, like, why? Why is this? What's going on here? Like, to me, it's kind of the high-res syndrome I'm getting here, where, oh, look, we've got Tribes Ascend. Oh, it's not making us enough money. Let's just get rid of it. Oh, now we've got Smite. It's like, okay. I think Uber suffer from big studio, but we're actually small studio syndrome. This is something I've just come up with, by the way. All right, this means we've got loads of ideas for games, but we don't have the money to make these games, and we don't have the staff to keep these games going. So we want to make we want to make Monday Night Combat. We did. Oh, let's make Super Monday Night Combat. Ooh. Now we want to make Planetary Annihilation. But wait, nobody will give us any funding for this because it's an RTS game. Let's try Kickstarter. Wow, Kickstarter worked. We got millions. Yeah. We make the game. I mean, they must have made some money on the game, but let's be honest, game development's expensive, especially when you've got a lot of team members and stuff. Millions can quickly drain away.
Overrun by a year.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty much a killer.
So I don't know what the sales figures are exactly for Planetary Annihilation, but I bet they're not amazing. Okay, so that's fine. And now they want to do their next RTS game, which is Human Resources, which, to be fair, was a fairly interesting concept of sort of
it
like
looked interesting.
Yeah, like mental aliens and mental robot aliens as well, invading the Earth, but using humans as the resource. So you have to go capture them and butcher them, presumably, and turn them into other killing robots or aliens or whatever. All right, but why Kickstarter? It's like, again, like you just said, it's like, holy shit. Hang on a minute, guys. I backed you for Planetary Annihilation. You ain't finished this game. Suddenly you've got another Kickstarter on the go. What's going on? And I've got to be totally honest, guys. 1.4 million to make a game ain't a lot. Not when you want to make a big game. If it's like just some little indie project, Not when it's a big ass game. It's like, oh yeah, I'm going to make a full. It's like, no, no, you just can't. Like, it beggars belief. It just beggars belief, which is an awesome English phrase.
I don't think. Honestly, I don't think they know what they want to do.
No,
they want to do it. I think they want to make stuff, but they make it, and then they're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, by the way, I've had this idea. And then someone will say, I've just thought of something. And then else will go, oh, that's a great idea. We should do that. No one's sitting there going, guys, you know that game that we got loads of money off Kickstarter for and people keep buying? You should probably finish that. Like, no one's doing that. And that's like a serious issue because you will eventually, well, in fact, no, I say you will eventually. They've already achieved it. Hi-Res suffered a massive backlash from the fact that they kept releasing games and then abandoning them in favour of newer games. Now, they've stuck with Smite. They do seem to have changed
Smite's
their ways.
doing really well though. That's why.
Well, provided they keep sticking with Smite, then okay, that's fair enough. But it's like Uber have not done that. Like Monday Night Combat, I gather was quite well received. Super Monday Night Combat, again, I gather was quite well received. People seem to enjoy it. But they didn't get any more than was like the bare necessities to keep them going. And then they did Planetary Annihilation. It's exactly the same story. They overran for development. They overran by a year. They still haven't finished it, and they're going, "Oh, we want to make something different now." It's like you can't really do that. You can't ask people to support you if you're not going to then support the stuff that they've already given you money for.
Yeah.
Because there's no reason for them to do that. They're just shooting themselves in the foot because they know that if they pledge for human resources, within a year, maybe 2 of it coming out, they won't get any more support for that game because it's Uber Entertainment. You don't want to get that reputation.
You get a cumulative effect as well on Kickstarter. I think this was kind of seen a little bit with Double Fine, where it's like Kickstarter after Kickstarter after Kickstarter, and each one is like doing progressively worse than the next one because it's like, guys, what the hell?
Yeah.
Kickstarter is not a platform to go on and beg. Okay, it's not people are like, please give me money, I want to make this game, but that's what it can come across as, right? It's like we ain't got the money, but we really want to make this game. But when you've already used Kickstarter to make a game, to fund a game, and that game isn't complete, people are then like, hang on a minute, what is going on? Why are you not finishing the other game and you want more money for this game? And it becomes a problem. I honestly think if Planetary Annihilation was finished, and was fine and got good reviews when it came out, everything would be all fine. This is probably, I don't know whether it would finish, but it would do okay. I think it would.
They'd do better than they did. I think they'd do better than they did.
Easily.
But unfortunately, Planetary Annihilation didn't get great views. It's not finished. And so the people who supported it feel burnt. And they're not going to go back to Uber because why should they? They've been sold over once. Why would they go in voluntarily and have the same thing happen again? I think it's a shame. It's genuinely a shame because actually I preferred the look of Human Resources over the look of Planetary Annihilation. I didn't back Planetary Annihilation. I bought it later on when it was on Steam. But I probably would have backed Human Resources if Planetary Annihilation had not suffered from basically a lack of being finished.
You see, the other thing as well is like Planetary Annihilation is not finished. It is not finished. It's like that, even though the game's sold as a launch version now, it's not finished, but people kind of need that sort of resolution. It's like the game is now finished. So you said you bought the game off Steam, okay? Right? When you bought the game, it was in early access, so you're like, well, okay, it's going to get developed, right? I like what's going on.
Yeah.
Me and you had a couple of fun games on it, and that was fine. But then it's like, well, would you buy it now? If I came over to you and said, here you go, Mr. Kirioff, buy this game, you'd look at it and it'd be like, okay, maybe you pick it up. But then you're not very impressed because it's like, well, this isn't finished. What's going on here?
Yeah.
But they do say, well, we're still developing the game. And you're like, well, okay. And then they say, here's a Kickstarter. And you're like, what? For another game? What the hell's going on? And you lose faith in their brand. This year as well. Oh, go on, Mr. Kirioff.
Part of the problem as well is that I know they couldn't delay it any further because it was already delayed by far too long, but they felt they had to release the game. But they said they've released the game, but they're still saying, oh, it's okay, they were still developing it. That's not what that means. I'm sorry, it's not what it means. Annoyingly, it's becoming what that means because when you look at the amount of, all the withheld DLC and all the various things you can buy for various games, where it's like, here's the game, and then over the next 6 months you'll have one DLC a week. There's a new map, renew this, renew that. It's the way it's going, but really, I'm still that person who, if it's still being worked on, if there are still key components of the game that need fixing or developing, the game ain't finished. So don't say it like that. Just don't, because you're effectively lying to the people who are buying the game because it says finished. They come in and it's like, oh yeah, well, admittedly, half the units aren't in, but they will be. So, well, why is it not? Why is you saying this is finished then? It's clearly not. There's actually stuff missing. I don't know. It's kind of, it's a shame Planetary Annihilation isn't getting the support it needs. I don't think they handled Planetary Annihilation very well, and I think even if it had, maybe even if it had released on time, and if it had been like more fully developed, I don't know whether people would then support Human Resources as well. Largely because Planetary Annihilation was, for a lot of people, a very weird concept to begin with. If you think about it, I mean, if you're fighting on planets and you can go from one planet to the other and you can destroy the planets, and no matter where you put your base, you're going to be attacked by all sides, all that kind of thing. I know a lot of people struggled with that. I struggled with that when you were like explaining it to me. I was like, well,
I think Planetary Annihilation is one of those things where it's a concept, it looks amazing, but it's something which is hard to translate into an actual workable game. Because there are a lot of times where you can't say, oh, on paper this might, it might appear amazing, but actually when it's put into a game, it becomes a bit of a pain up the arse. It's like when you get things like, I don't know, I can't think of any examples now, but there's probably tons and tons of examples of that. Planetary Annihilation itself is a good example of that. Really impressive. I remember when we were on the Co-optional podcast, and I'm like, well, it's a very impressive game, right? It visually, okay? So you've got the Annihilator, which is like a massive, it's like a Death Star laser. You can fire across a solar system and it blows planets up. It's insane. It's like, what the Christ? That looks amazing. But that's kind of all the, like, jazz it's got, and oh yeah, you can slam planets into each other. But I'll tell you how Planetary Annihilation works at the moment. It's literally, you can get to space as fast as possible. Well, unless you're on one planet, because if you play multiplayer, everybody just plays on a small planet, yeah. So they just kill each other with like tier 1 units, like loads of them spam, and then that's the end of it. But if you play with your friend in a solar system, all it'll be is who can get into space and build the vector, the Delta V engines on the moon or like a small asteroid as fast as possible and smash it into their planet, and they instantly win. It's like, well, it's boring. Like, on paper it looks great, these massive fights, loads of shit going on in the solar system, but really it's just evolves into this little race. Or if you're playing competitively multiplayer, it's just a spam fest, and it isn't really that good. The single player campaign on it is just like a randomly generated kind of, it's almost like a roguelikey RTS where you get like random rewards for killing random commanders, which is fairly okay. But I'll be honest, I've only ever done that twice. And the second time I didn't finish it because I was bored. And it's like, well, okay. But I do think, going back to the whole thing of this, they have cancelled this Human Resources Kickstarter because they knew it would not make the goal. And I think we've pretty much covered a lot of the reasons why they wouldn't make the goal. Because, like, Kickstarter, I don't have the graph for this, but Kickstarter, there was a statistic for this. I think it was from Kickstarter, actually. This year, they haven't even done like a third of the money they did in 2013 for games on Kickstarter. So that shows you how it's sort of coming to the end of its life, maybe.
Severely.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it needs to be like new, like properly new stuff from properly new people or new companies at this point, because just going back and forth to Kickstarter over and over again from the same people, it's just not going to work anymore.
No. Okay, so the next thing we've got, I'm going to just do something with my nose. Hang on. Hopefully you didn't hear that. You probably did slightly, but whatever. You could have talked Mr. Kirioff over it, you bastard. Okay, so this is the next thing we've got. It's the Far Cry 4 Ubisoft Let's Sell Day One DLC behind the bloody season pass. So you got to buy the season pass for this. So it's not like cheap, because the season pass is £23.99 English pounds. I mean, please. But this is what you get.
I remember a point where just games in general were like 25 quid. What the hell's going on? What's happened?
You want to buy season pass for an unreleased game? Oh yeah. If you don't, you won't get Day One DLC. And not to mention, the Game of the Year version will come out, and it'll be 20 quid for everything. Stupid thing. Anyway, so this is what you get, Mr. Kirioff. This is again taken from, it's taken from Eurogamer. So you get the syringe, apparently. A season pass. Well, let me highlight this. Hang on a minute. All professional. The syringe, a season pass exclusive mission. Available at launch that tasks players with keeping a drug recipe from Pagan Min's forces. Right, great. Escape from Durgesh prison. Okay. AJ and Herc, surely that should be Hank, have been imprisoned. Help them bust out. Right, okay, whatever. A Herc Deluxe pack. 5 missions with your crazy combat buddy Herc. Includes a harpoon gun. I suppose that's better than a crossbow. Remember when there was the bow fetish going on? What? Okay, Valley of the Yetis, okay? Set in a frozen Himalayan tundra, this expansion sees players setting up camp following a helicopter crash as they must survive attacks from a mysterious cult and Yetis. So this is the co-op multiplayer thing, right? But there's also a new PvP mode called Overrun, in which players team up as a Rakesha or Golden Path and compete to hold down a series of locations across Kyrat. Okay? The Season Pass can be purchased at a discount if you buy it as part of the Far Cry 4 Gold Edition. So presumably they got silver and bronze, have they? Platinum and fucking iridium versions? Who knows?
Unobtainium edition.
No, you can't have that. Everything's obtainable, bloke. which is a deluxe edition offering PC, PSN, and Xbox Live, Far Cry 4, and whatever, and nobody cares. So, Mr. Kirioff, we got Mr. Big Bad. It's kind of funny saying Big Bad Ubisoft because the CEO of Ubisoft's about 4 foot tall. He's like a little guy. It makes me laugh every time I see him. Like he's a happy little French guy. Anyway, yeah. So what? Just give it, Mr. Kirioff. Just fucking give it me, man. I can't handle this no more. Like I just can't handle it.
Can we get past this whole season pass thing now?
No.
Can we ditch that for something that isn't shit and terrible? Like especially, I mean, the one that gets me out of maybe the 3, all 5 really. The things that get me about this particular season pass. First of all, a season pass exclusive mission available at launch. I hate that. I fucking hate that in any game. I don't care what the game is.
It's on the disc, yeah. It'll be on the disc.
At launch is just, we have locked it for you. You cannot have it because you didn't pay us enough. We put it on the disc. You know, we made it. We made it on the on the budget that we had to begin with, on the understanding that people would buy the game, but you got to pay extra to unlock it. That's terrible. I hate that. I hate everything about that. I think it's totally shit. Locking distinct parts of PvP as well. Now, this, for me, this is a comedy decision on many fronts, right?
Many fronts.
What do you not do in any game that you want people to play in multiplayer, right? You do not fragment the community, do you, Blog? That's a stupid thing to do.
Yes,
That's
EA.
idiocy. That's what EA do with Battlefield 4, and it doesn't work. That's what many companies have tried with many games, and it never works. Because all that happens is that you end up with a bunch of people.
EA are serial offenders. Titanfall as well. That's all over the place.
Yeah. And it's stupid. Why would you fragment the people who play the game? Why would you do that? Why would you stop people from being able to play together? It's like, if the basis of that relies on different people coming together to play that one thing, don't then make it so that half of them can't play the thing, because then that just means you lose half the people that you wanted to.
You know what I think? I think, right, they've sat down in their little office in Paris and gone, you know how people pay to get on Xbox Live and PSN, but they don't pay on PC. And I don't like this. So I want them to pay for multiplayer on PC. And you're like, well, boss, what we can do is we've got a multiplayer section in our upcoming Far Cry game. So what happens if we just put that behind DLC? And you're like, sounds good. But we need it. What about like just at launch? You know, we can't have it delayed because it's a feature of the game. Well, what we'll do is we'll do a season pass, right? And we'll just like say that the PvP is you get access to it on day one, because day one edition, I hate that phrase, is all over the place now, and people like that because it's like exclusive, yeah. And we'll also call the basic version, hey EA, limited edition as well. That
is the worst. That is by far the worst. It's terrible.
Gold edition.
If I go to Origin right now, it will suggest Dragon Age Inquisition. And like the normal edition is limited edition. It's not what it means. It's not what it means.
No.
It's just hands down not what that word means. It's terrible. I know it's becoming more prominent. I know it's just going to keep happening. But a little part of me just really wants people to stop fucking around. Do you know what I mean? And just give the goddamn game. You know, give us the game as the game is meant. Oh, hang on. Oh no, wait. Sorry, my mistake. There is actually just standard edition for Dragon Age.
Oh.
Now, I'm pretty sure it wasn't standard before.
There wasn't for Sims, though.
I'm 99% sure.
The Sims wasn't. It was just limited.
It wasn't for Sims.
And then it was like Digital Deluxe or some shit. Oh, okay, so my problem, Mr. Kirioff, it's kind of like the pre-order thing, yeah? Publishers offer pre-order bonuses because they know people will pre-order games, okay? Now, I am both against and for pre-orders because it depends, yeah? If you are going to buy the game anyway, right? And this is a fact. So for me, it would be Civilization Beyond Earth. I would be buying that game. I would pre-order the game. I don't even care what anybody says because I know I'm going to play the shit out of the game, right?
Yeah.
But if you're not and you're just like, well, I'm going to do it because they've got a nice bonus because it's Assassin's Creed and they've got a fancy pirate hat or something. If I pre-order, I'm going to pre-order. So people do it, right? And then the publishers are like, well, we're getting loads of pre-orders because we've done this. So that's fine. Let's do it, right? So even if I've got the best of intentions, if I'm still pre-ordering Civilization Beyond Earth, I'm still adding to the problem. You know, they're going to give me a map pack for pre-ordering. Well, that's great, but I'm sort of confirming it, you know? But, okay, so I'm either not for or against it. I'm for it if it's, like, positive for the consumer. But if it's not, then I'm against it. But it can kind of always be against it. No. But
there are some people who sit there and go, "Oh, never pre-order." Well, actually,
I don't agree with that.
To be honest, if I wasn't sure that we'd end up with copies of Assassin's Creed, for instance, for the channel, then I would pre-order that because my wife and I play the Assassin's Creed games together. Like, I know what I'm getting from that. I know it's not going to be any different mechanically to the previous one. I know it's just going to be in Paris instead of on a boat. I'm fine with that because it's something that we enjoy doing together, and I know that that's what it's going to be.
What about the boat combat? So, that was like one of the best things to the last Assassin's Creed.
Unless this boat's in Paris, bloke, I don't think you're going to get it anymore.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's bad, ain't it?
It might.
They'll work it in.
Then again,
they'll work it in. There'll be something retarded,
I'm being naive and kind of hoping that they'll somehow make the actual combat enjoyable again, rather than, you know. But, you know, a lad can hope. But yeah, I mean, in some circumstances, it's like, if you know what you're getting, if you know that's what you want, you know exactly that is the thing that you get that series of games for, knock yourself out, pre-order it. It's like with the Battlefield series. I mean, there'll be people, probably at least 3 of them, actually maybe 3's over the top, who will have pre-ordered Hardline because they know that it might be terrible, but they know what they're getting, right? They know what they're getting. It's just a Battlefield game. They know exactly what's going to happen, and so that's why they pre-ordered, because they have no taste, but they support the game they have no taste in. So, but with this kind of thing, stuff that's locked behind pre-orders, I hate that. Season passes, I absolutely can't stand season passes because.
Where did these come from? Did these come from Call of Duty?
I don't know. I don't know where this came from. It just seemed to appear one day. It was like, suddenly, season pass. And the thing is, the season pass isn't cheap either. I know it's cheaper than buying all the stuff individually.
Only at launch,
though.
Because
the stuff's fucking expensive. And the thing is, it's stuff that's made anyway. And this is the thing that pisses me off. It's not like, okay, so we have expanded upon the original game. It's like 4 months after. Here is a mini DLC expansion. It's like the stuff for Dragon Age Origins, like Shale and that, and the various things they brought out. Those were staggered. You got those eventually. After a bit, you could pay for bits individually, so on and so forth. You could download one bit and not download the other bit. And it just expanded on everything. But now, what part... Does this expand on the story in any way? That's the other thing as well. A lot of Season Pass stuff has got nothing to do with the actual, like, the lore of the world of the game. It's just... Here's a new map. Woohoo! What's the story behind the map? We don't know. It's just a first-person shooter.
There was Shadow of Mordor Season Pass, yeah. I don't know what's in the Season Pass, but I know making the rounds on the news sites has been a thing about you get there's free DLC for that game. And I was like, oh, what's this? It was just a skin. So you look like the guy who kills your family at the start of the game. And I'm like, this ain't anything.
Why would you want to look like that?
Yeah, it makes no sense. But then I don't think the game made much sense anyway. But it's like, that makes no sense in the context of the game. Yeah, it's all over news websites and it's getting reported on because it's like, oh, free DLC. But it's like, that's nothing. That's like, the model was already in the game and they're just like, they've just transposed it onto your fucking player model character. It's like, what? It's just ridiculous. But DLC, hang on, DLC is a fucking big thing I've got an issue with because when DLC first cropped up, right, I did not like it, yeah? But there are a lot of examples of DLC which was actually pretty good and did add to the game, yeah? Even in games like Battlefield and stuff like that, they had decent DLC to begin with, but they've gone downhill rapidly. Like, when you see, like, you see the Call of Duty guys, right? There was a screenshot I seen on Reddit, and it was all of the DLC for Black Ops 2, and it was like $180 or something for everything. And there was like, I am not joking, I've never seen so much DLC. I thought The Sims was bad for DLC, but this was like Cannabis Joe's fucking weapon skin, £2. It's like, what? What is that? It's like Cannabis Leaves. It wasn't called Cannabis Joe, but it was Cannabis something. You know, it's like, what is that? You know, there's loads of like, kind of like just loads of ridiculous stuff, which is like nothing, or like pointless DLC, like you said. I mean, obviously, the worst stuff is stuff that is like integral to the game. That's where we come back to this Far Cry example, where it's the PvP, the multiplayer, is behind a fucking paywall, and it's already been made.
I personally blame THQ for the rise of terrible DLC just because of Warhammer 40k stuff. That was god awful. Some of the stuff in Space Marine.
Yeah, but
one of the bits of DLC you could get. I know, but I had a special hatred for that because some of the stuff that they had, it was like,
you hate a company that's dead. That's nice.
Yeah, If only, I mean, they could have at least given someone the IP before they left, but
Maybe, well, that's Games Workshop.
they put, they put stuff that like directly affected.
They'd rather
stuff
make
into the
mobile
game.
games.
What was that shit game we played? It was like a tug of war game. It was absolutely terrible.
Dark something Vengeance. Something was it?
Well, it had the Dark Angels in it, didn't it?
Storm of Vengeance.
Yeah. Oh God.
That was terrible.
Why did you remind me? Oh right, I just asked you.
There needs to be a dividing line, right? There needs to be like an industry standard. I want to see downloadable customization. That's what I want. I want to see that. So that's like skins. I want to see that apply to skins. So like in Warhammer, for instance, in Space Marine, it wouldn't be the Iron Hands Armor DLC. It would be the Iron Hands downloadable customization. Because then you wouldn't look at that and think, Iron Hands DLC, holy shit, is this another part? Oh no, it's just a skin. Because that's what happens with a lot of it.
You know what? Right, I've just looked at this and it just reminded me. It says at the bottom, Yetis may sound bonkers, but after the madness that was Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Right, let's talk about Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon. Let's talk about Far Cry 3 and 4. They're essentially the same game based off what I've seen, right? It's that Ubisoft formula, isn't it? Where it's like a big map, and then it's like collection, stupid pointless quest, towers you go up. Like Far Cry 4 just looks the same, just in a different setting. But Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon was arguably DLC for the game. It was a little mini kind of standalone expansion thing. I think, was it standalone? Oh, it might not have been. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah,
was it
standalone?
Yeah, and that was like really crazy. And like that was really, it wasn't that much of a game, to be honest, but it was like enough for me to think this would be a good purchase. Not when it's shit like get features that are already in the game, but we've locked them away. You need to pay to get into them. It was a completely different bloody game. It was like an 80s inspired action, like sci-fi piss take version. Where whoever approved that, I don't know, but they're legends. If they want to approve more stuff like that, like when I see this like Yeti thing, I'm just like, well, whatever, I don't care about that. But Blood Dragon was really like, I thought that was pretty good. And if they know how to do it, well, if they know how to do it, because this is Ubisoft, isn't it? What the fuck's going on with this shit? I hate this shit, bloke. I hate this shit. I fucking hate this shit.
Because the thing is, like, Blood Dragon to me, that is actually DLC. It's downloadable content. That's what it stands for. It stands for downloadable content. That's what it means. That is what it means. This isn't fucking DLC in the season pass, because it's at launch. It's on the fucking disc. If you get the disc, it's on the fucking disc.
LPC, locked paid content.
It's bullshit. I mean, it's taking the name of something and just using it for whatever they fancy. And what they're using it for is, this is another way to get money out of people who want the game. That's what it's for. It's not to make the experience better. It's not to make any sort of improvement on the game. It's just to hide content unless you're willing to pay 25 quid to unlock it. And it's content that you should be getting anyway, right? If it's PvP, it should be getting it anyway, because that's just stupid. Don't lock any sort of PvP behind a paywall. That's idiot move. Well, and you're thick if you think that's clever.
It's like we said, initially DLC was made to plug in to enhance the experience, yeah? So when it came around, it was, we've made the game. I think this would be interesting. I think this would be interesting if we made this after the fact. That's fine. What it's evolved into now is we've made the game. Let's remove this section, and this section. That's DLC. That'll come out at this date. This will be day one DLC. Yeah. And you can tell, but I think people are just sort of accepting it, and it's bad. Don't accept it, guys. It's fucking bad. And this is a joke. And Ubisoft are doing this more often. I mean, they did this with Watch Dogs as well. And it's just, they're doing it all over the fucking place. And it's just getting like, there'll come a point where, I mean, people are already calling them Ubi shit now and things like that.
Felt like terrible DLC.
Watch Dogs was a joke in of itself. So, yeah. Anyway, we're going to move on to our final topic of this amazing HOTFIX Reborn. That's what I'm calling it now. HOTFIX Reborn, bloke. Reborn. That's what I called the PSD when I made all of these graphics as well. So, okay, we go to Reddit, ladies and gentlemen. And this is an interesting article because, interesting thing. So Blizzard, right? I tell you what. Let me just read this off instead of trying to summarize it in my head. So Blizzard of no, fuck it. I'm going to summarize. I'm the summarize king. But I know I've highlighted something on the screen there, guys. Just ignore that. So Blizzard have got a gap, okay? And as this guy says here, they've never had gaps from noon until 12 p.m. on the main stage at BlizzCon. They usually have something going on. So what the hell is going on? Yeah. Are Blizzard about to announce a new game? Well, I've got a little bit of evidence this guy kindly links to, which is a good post, by the way, on Reddit. What's the guy's name? Let's give him credit. Reddin Rules. What an awesome name. Anyway, it takes us to this page, right? And this is about Blizzard registering Overwatch. Now, what the hell is Overwatch? Yeah, this was in April, the 5th of April 2014. Now, Overwatch could be anything. Yeah, it could be a code name for an expansion. Yeah, because they do. You know, companies like Blizzard do this. They've done this in the past because they don't. You know, they want to keep it. You wouldn't go out and say, you know, Diablo 3. Trying to think of an expansion name. Tyrael's Takedown. Whatever.
British of all the expansions.
This expansion, you would not register that, right? You would register something else, like, and they would like use that as a working title. Then they would change it to whatever. So they've done this in the past to hide. So we don't know what that means. It could be anything, right? Overwatch could just be anything, or it could be a new game, right? Because we know Blizzard have cancelled Titan. Yeah, we know that's a fact. We know that Heroes of the Storm. Well, it kind of came out of nowhere, but Heroes of the Storm, they did speak about this a couple of years ago, remember, at BlizzCon, when it was going to be a straight-up MOBA, and then they canned it, and then they remade it into what it is now, where it's still a MOBA, but it's a very different take on a MOBA. It isn't like your League of Legends format, which is what, well, I guess your Dota format, which is what they were going for originally. Hearthstone, that came out of nowhere. Was Hearthstone announced at PAX or something? 1 year? It was like, oh, it is our new game. Everybody was like, what?
Well, yeah, because it was basically they kind of introduced this. Oh, people, some of the guys have been messing around with this, and we really like it. So here you go. It was like, it wasn't even like a we have been planning this all along kind of thing, was it? It was kind of like this is a casual thing we've been messing with, and we think you'll enjoy it. So have a card game, and it turned out to be horrendously addictive.
So the question is, what could this actually be, right? So as you can see here, it's not StarCraft 2 expansion, he says. Now, the reason for this is because there is a StarCraft panel, okay? And it is on time. So the StarCraft panel, they're going to talk about the future of StarCraft and all that crap. This will be the BlizzCon. They tell you about Legacy of the Void, right? Because it's the same time gap between the last one that I think it was about 18 months ago. I think it was for the Zerg expansion. 18 months late.
Which is way too long, by the way.
This is how they operate.
Just saying.
Well, StarCraft 2 is a thing in of itself. It's rapidly declining. That is like their least played game. And they need to do something about that. They've spent too long messing about with it. And I think they've made a ton of bad decisions with that. They should. I mean, I honestly believe things like the multiplayer and that should be free to play. That would get people to play the game because it's like there's such a barrier of entry. You go in, you buy the game, then you get fucking smashed. And you're like, what the hell have I just bought this game for? There's no like, you know, you can. Well, no, even if you have to play, like, I mean, whatever. We're not talking about that, but whatever. So what could it be? What could this game be, right? Warcraft 4? Now, this was thrown around a lot, and I don't think it's that. It can't be that.
No, I'd be really surprised if that happened. I'm kind of... I wouldn't be surprised if it's something where the people who they used for Titan ended up on something else, and this turned out to be that something else. But I don't know whether they'd try another MMO, because they made it pretty clear that the reasons they were making Titan were for the wrong reasons, and they weren't feeling it, which is why they stopped. So, if it's some sort of multiplayer gaming title, then really, what does that leave you with? Because if it's not an MMO, which I'd be very surprised if it was.
No,
it's possible,
I don't think
but
it
I'd be
will be.
really shocked if it was. It's not likely to be an RTS because they've got an established RTS in StarCraft. It's not going to be something like Hearthstone, obviously, because they've got that covered. It's not going to be something like Heroes of the Storm because, again, they've got that covered. Diablo 3 covers that. I mean, the only thing I can think of that they don't already have the bases covered for is like some sort of FPS type deal, to be honest. Because they've got MMO, they've got RTS, they've got RPG, they've got card game, which was like barely even a thing until they turned up anyway.
Yeah.
And they're digging into MOBAs quite healthily with Heroes of the Storm. I mean,
well, I think
it's like that's the only thing I can think why they'd. That's the only thing I can think that they'd want to try their hand at, because frankly they've got massively successful titles in everything else. Well, in most of them they've got massively successful titles. I don't know whether that really counts in RTS anymore.
Well, no, I think
been handled,
no, I think it does, because it's still by far the most played RTS there is. So it is the king of that. I don't know. It's interesting because Blizzard have said that they have had a lot of success with these mini titles, and we know they have. You know, Heroes of the Storm, which I think uses a lot of the StarCraft 2 development team, because I think it's the same engine, and Hearthstone. Yeah, Hearthstone is wildly popular. Like, that is insanely popular. It's free to play.
Yeah.
I think, right? I think they're going to go down the route of. This is if they do announce something, but obviously based off this evidence, they probably will. Because why they've got such a big gap, it doesn't really make sense. Okay, well, I guess you could say this is kind of a bit of a pain up the arse by Blizzard. It's not a very nice thing to do. It'll be a pain up the arse for people going. Because if you spend thousands of dollars to get there and you don't actually know what's going to be on, yet you plan your day going to see certain panels, and then this is suddenly thrown in your face, it might screw you up. But I don't think Blizzard care because they're after the PR impact of like, have you seen our new game? But yeah, I think it'll be, if it is a game, a new game anyway, it'll probably be something based on what they've already got, yeah? Because they seem to, like, they've got their own little universe, haven't they? Why step out of that? I'd like to see them step out of it, but I think from their point of view, it's a case of why. Because we've already got, everybody knows who these characters are, they know what all our IPs are, so why don't we make something which is a variation on that, okay? I think it'll be free to play, yeah? Same format as Hearthstone in that respect. So get the game for free and then have bits and pieces of downloadable, you know, gubbins or whatever they do with those type of games. So, you know, card packs and whatever. As for what type of game it's going to be, I'm not exactly sure. Like you said, the only thing they really don't have is an FPS game. But why would you... Like, again, this is like... Right, so Hearthstone is a game that came in, and okay, the only competition to Hearthstone is Magic the Gathering, yeah? That had a digital game, and it was shit. I don't think it was entirely like the card game. It was like a slightly different system or something. I don't know, guys. I don't play the game, so don't quote me on that. But Hearthstone comes out, and I have had no interest in card games, yet I've played my fair share of Hearthstone. Millions of people play that every month, so they've dominated that. Heroes of the Storm is... I think that's going to do okay. We've been playing that recently, and it seems to have changed for quite a bit for the better. But it's not going to take on LoL. It ain't going to beat LoL. It ain't going to beat Dota 2. But it's going to do okay.
I don't think it's meant to.
Yeah. So, but like what I'm saying is like with the FPS thing, right? Your current free to play. Well, it's not really free to play, but your current like FPS king is Counter-Strike Global Offensive. Yeah. You're going to have games like Unreal Tournament are going to come out shortly, and that's going to be free to play. For Blizzard to go into an area like that, I'm not sure. Every Blizzard game, right, with the exception of WoW, is like a top-down strategic game. You know what I mean? It's not like an FPS game. That's like a different area completely. It would be like Blizzard going out and making a sports game, you know, or maybe it is a sports game. Maybe it's like Blood Bowl, but with Blizzard guys.
I'm just kind of...
what? I don't know.
I mean, that's the thing, because to be honest, what would really be headline grabbing and properly sort of what the hell is going on is if it turned out to be some sort of FPS that is outside of their established universe, because that would be like, holy shit, what's going on at Blizzard?
Well, it's Ghost, isn't there? I mean, maybe they bring that back, but again, you know.
But the thing is as well, it's like Blizzard don't really seem to do stuff like because we know this will do really well. They seem to do stuff because they want to do it. And often it works for the... I mean, let's face it, no one's going to predict that Hearthstone will become as big as it did. I mean, I know it's Blizzard, but come on. What possible basis was there for believing that a bloody collectible card game was going to do really well? The only examples you had before was like Scrolls and
Magic the Gathering. I forgot about that. Yeah.
Scrolls was great for a week and then no one played it. Magic the Gathering got hated on by the Magic the Gathering community and no one played it. So it's like, that was like a random thing to do. Again, Heroes of the Storm. It's like... If you sat down and tried to convince a board of people, oh yeah, well we've got an idea that means
maybe it's going to be like XCOM or something. Imagine that.
That would be amazing.
How would they do that though? What?
Surely that would have to be a new universe.
Well, I mean, they could do it. They could do it with Warcraft, I suppose.
Into it or something. Or Warcraft, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. But you know what they're like.
I'm really hoping they surprise us. To be honest. Because I'm expecting some kind of...
It could turn out to be nothing. It could just be there really is nothing there, guys.
that would be really disappointing. It turned out just to be an expansion for something. Like, Overwatch turns out to be the next Diablo 3 expansion or something. I don't know. It's like...
What about this?
Disappointing.
What about if it is Titan, and it was just a massive piss take telling you it was cancelled? And it's like a massive thing, and the screen goes down, and it's like, whatever Titan is... Titan! That's like my...
Well, if they go, actually, we completely scrapped development on Titan because we changed the name to Overwatch. We just didn't tell anyone. So, GG.
We've built a space rocket. We're going to Mars. Anyway,
I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Like, if it is just an empty space, then, well, actually, that wouldn't be that surprising if it was an empty space.
It can't be. It can't be.
But
they've also got Metallica.
I don't know, what is that about?
That must have cost them quite a bit, actually, because we know what they're like with money.
Well, yeah.
They're also
the thing is, though,
gash.
that's like.
Well, actually,
I
no.
swear them.
Hang on. I've made a statement, and I've got to defend myself here. They're not entirely gash, right? Their earlier stuff was fine, but they ain't really like. What are they, Mr. Kirioff?
They've not successfully moved with the times.
Are they like thrash metal or something like that? Is that what they were? Like thrashy or something? See, I'm not down with the terminology, but I know they were like grungier and dirtier. Give it me.
Yeah, they've attempted to move with the times by changing up the way they do it, but unfortunately, people never wanted them to move with the times. They want them to keep making albums like the Black Album and Master of Puppets and Justice for All, and they didn't do that, and so now they just seem a bit gash. Whereas if you look at like Megadeth, they just got more and more ridiculous and mental as they went on. I mean, Dave Mustaine's a massive wanker, but at least he's got on the guitar and,
Death by the head,
kept going. Yeah. But yeah, also, is it just me or are Blizzard and Riot trying to outdo each other with who appears on their stages? Because
who did they have?
League of Legends got Imagine Dragons to do a bloody theme tune to Worlds, and then had them in the opening and closing ceremonies doing a concert. I'm sorry, but at this point, I'm going to suggest that Imagine Dragons a little bit more relevant than Metallica.
Yeah, but I think Metallica, like, they're the age group of Metzen and all of them, aren't they? It's like they just want them for a private show. That's what's going on there. It's like, just get on the stage and sing. But I don't know.
Sing for me, Monkey Boy. Yeah,
sing and dance. Have $1 million.
I'm hoping for something surprising. I think you're right. I don't think it'll be like an empty slot because that's a mental time to have an empty slot. It's like fucking prime time for BlizzCon, ain't it? That would be insane. But at the same time, if it turns out to be another kind of crossover with the different universes, I guess I'll be okay with that, depending on what the game was. But I want them to step outside the comfort zone for once and just do something new and go, hey guys, look at this. Look at this. It doesn't matter if it fails. It's totally different.
It doesn't matter if people just slash it. They got World of Warcraft. That was just out making them a month. I'm sure they can survive.
I mean, they're swimming in World of Warcraft Hearthstone. I'm sure Heroes of the Storm. Once that's
Diablo
release,
3's done really well as well. People
Diablo
often
3,
forget about
Reap
that.
for Souls really brought. I mean, that brought Diablo 3 back in a big way. I mean, the only thing that ain't doing great is StarCraft 2, and that's like one out of how many games that are doing really well. They can afford to make a mistake. In fact, they've already afforded to make a mistake when they ditched Titan after God knows how long.
If they have,
so, for the love of God, please just come out, Blizzard, and go. We've got this new game, and it involves none of the characters you already know about. That would make me happy. That would make me really happy because they're one of my favorite developers, but they just don't fucking do anything out of the comfort zone ever.
Calm down, Mr.
Oh God, please.
Okay.
Don't let the outside world influence us.
Somebody slap him. Right, ladies and gentlemen, we've reached the end, so I've changed the scene back to the original start scene. So, we have covered Paranautical Activity Madness. We have covered the Human Resources Kickstarter. We have recovered... No, we need to recover. We have covered Far Cry 4 Day 1 DLC Madness and then went into a massive rant about DLC. And is there going to be a game announcement at BlizzCon? Now, I could sit here and list a load of questions like we have done in previous hotfix. I'm not going to do that. I just want you to leave a comment on whatever topic tickles your fancy because there's been too much, Mr. Kirioff. And unless you've got anything fantastical to say. Also, feedback on the new way we're doing this as well. Because, just to recap, Thursdays, 6 p.m. BST, hotfix every week. And it will cover the last 7 days, most hotfix-worthy news. Okay? That's what we're doing.
And it's Le Poire.
It is Le Poire. And the way that we kind of did hotfix before, like with the odd topics, we still may do something like that. But it'll be more of like when we do the opinionated videos, not an actual hotfix. Because I want a hotfix to be a big cornerstone of the channel. I don't want it to just be something that comes out whenever. I want people to know when it's coming out. Those are my reasons, Mr. Kirioff. And you should like them. Actually, Mr. Kirioff...
get the fuck out.
Mr. Kirioff came up with it, so let's just give him the credit. So, okay, ladies and gentlemen.
As with everything. That's a blatant lie.
Both blatant lies. I was trying to make you feel good.
I was just going to take it. I was just going to take the credit. I didn't even care.
Anyway, so we're out of here, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, hopefully you enjoyed that. And there'll also be a SoundCloud version of this. I feel like I'm giving myself a load of things to do, and I'm going to forget. And they're going to be like, "Star, you ain't you ain't done this." I'll be like, "What, please?"
Yeah, and I'm going away tomorrow, so I can't even help you with it.
I'll just be left in a world of hate. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, we're out of here.
For the stressed out Twitter entries.
Oh God, I'm going to kill Gabe. We'll catch you next time, people. Toodaloo.